Kelly with Stella Mari's Quilts, and today I want to talk about templates. We all use templates while quilting. We have our circle cutting templates, we have our Dresden templates, we have our 60-degree ruler templates, and sometimes we need a template that maybe we don't already have. Now, I'm a big fan of buying the tools that you need to do the job. However, I also know that sometimes when we're quilting on a budget. So today I want to talk about making do with what we have and making your own templates. Circle templates are the easiest one to kind of duplicate. So anything that you have in your home, a glass, a bowl, a plate, all of those are wonderful circles. So when you need a circle, you can just grab something that's the right size and use it. It's great to have a template, but if you don't, you can easily make do without. Other templates you might need are a different kind of angled triangle, like a 30-degree triangle. So I'm going to show quickly how to make a 30-degree triangle template using a protractor. I actually still have mine from high school geometry, and so on occasion I do use this to make a triangle that is an odd shape that maybe isn't on my mat or on my ruler, or it just works better for my brain to cut it a certain way. So let's go ahead and show you that step. To make a triangle template, a couple things to remember, thinking back to high school geometry, is that a triangle equals 180 degrees for all of its angles. So we're going to make a 30-degree triangle here. So if we have 180 degrees and we're going to have 30 degrees at one point, that means we have 150 degrees left. We'll want the remaining two angles to be equal, which means they have to be 75 degrees each. I'm going to go ahead and start by just drawing a line. You can use a ruler for this. I just use the base of my protractor. And then I'm going to start with my first angle. Now this is the base of my triangle, so this angle and this angle are both going to be that 75 degrees. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to find my 75 mark here. And then I'm going to draw a line. For whatever I'm working on, I also probably know how tall my triangle needs to be. So let's say this triangle needs to be 5 inches tall. So I'm going to kind of come over here and mark 5-inch point. Probably should come over here a little closer. Which means I'm going to need to extend my line here. So I'm just going to slide it up and keep extending. Then finding my 5-inch mark, I can come over until it matches. And this is then going to be my next point that I'm coming for an angle with. So I'm going to line up that center point on my protractor, keep the edge straight with the line that I've already drawn, and then I'm going to mark my 30-degree point, which is right here. And I'm going to connect the points all the way down to the base. So now I have a 30-degree triangle. This is 30 degrees here. This is 75 degrees. And then this is also going to be 75 degrees because that's the remaining angle. And you can check that by lining up your protractor. And measuring on this side and seeing how it lines up with the 75-degree mark on my protractor. So that is how you would make a triangle template that's of any specific shape that you need as far as degrees of the angles. The next template I want to show you how to do is an orange peel template. And orange peel templates, you can find them all over the place. But the challenge I have found with orange peel templates is that you have to get the exact size template for what you're working on. And if you're working with different size squares or different sizes, that means buying a lot of templates. Now, I'm in favor of buying templates when you're going to be using it more than once. But if you're only needing it one time, sometimes it's easier to just make it yourself. So the first step is that we're going to measure the angle or measure the length of the diagonal on this square. This is a 5-inch square that I'm working with. So this is 7 inches. I want to make sure I leave space for my seam allowance. So I'm going to use 6.5 as my number. So here's my paper that I'm going to start with. And I'm just going to draw a line as just a mark to start with. And then I'm going to measure, actually I'm going to do it this way, 6.5 inches and mark my other end point. I can draw a line down the center of my, what will be my orange peel. The next thing that you need to know is how wide the orange peel is going to be. So this is our point to point of that orange peel. And now we need to know how wide it's going to be. So 1, 2, 3. I'm marking my halfway mark here. The width is typically about 40% of the length. So that would mean I'm going to take my 6.5 and I'm going to multiply it by 40%. So 0.40 equals 2.6. Now 2.6 is an odd number. 1/8 of an inch equals 0.125. So I'm probably going to just round this up to 1/8 of an inch. So I'm going to say that this is 2 5/8. Roughly. It doesn't have to be perfect because it'll just be a little wider or it'll be a little narrower. So I'm going to just go ahead and mark kind of an outward point at half that so that I can say that's thin. Okay, now I'll do the same distance. And that's then the distance of my orange peel. Now I can make it a little bit wider if I want to. So if I measure all the way across here, that's 1, 2, it's actually more like 2 3/4 the way I marked it. So it should be fine. The next step is just to find a circle then that kind of fits within that of an arc. So I'm going to look for my circle. Will this one work? Nope. I'll go ahead and use my template. And what I'm looking for is a circle that I can fit the same circle on both sides, but also crosses, I think you can see it, but also crosses my point of the center there. And this one is going to do just the right trick. So I'm going to draw an arc there. I'm going to flip my paper around. Line it up again. Draw my arc. And there's my orange peel shape. So it's just that easy. Takes a little bit of math, but it's easy to do. And then I have my template that I need for my specific size that I'm looking for. And that's just a few tips on how to make some templates. Again, I recommend buying templates. However, when it's a question of buying fabric or buying a template, I choose to buy the fabric and try to make my own templates as much as I can, especially if it's going to be for just a single use. Some tips on collecting more templates and building up your stash of that would be to make a wish list that all of your loved ones can have access to. So when it comes time to things like Mother's Day or birthday or Christmas, they've got some ideas as to some tools that you can use for your quilting, and maybe you can build your stash of templates through some gifts. I hope this is helpful to everyone, and I hope you have a wonderful day. We'll see you again next time. Happy quilting.